This started out. I found out about it through family. My aunt had it growing in her backyard, and she was like, "Oh, that's actually food." I was like, "What?" Because I'd seen the elephant ear, which is very similar to this.
Yeah.
But not edible.
Yeah.
So in my mind, anything that looked like this
not edible.
was not edible. It's not food. It's like it's an ornament. Yeah. But they're like, "Oh no, that's edible." I was like, "No, that's what we do. That's outside." But they're like, "No, in the Congo, in the Caribbean, it's a staple."
All right, you are big on taro.
Yes. Yes.
Why?
It's also another multifaceted plant with so many uses, especially uses that we could benefit from in Zambia. With the past drought and all the trouble we had with food, we need plants like this. Plants that don't demand too much fertilizer, so they're not expensive to grow.
Yeah.
You don't need it's not very work intensive. So you can easily grow it, and then there's so many ways to eat it. So that's why I'm really, really big on it.
So you're talking about eating the tubers.
Yes.
The starchy tubers, as we would eat a sweet potato in the same kind of way.
Yes.
But then also the leaves are also edible, isn't it?
Yes.
And do you eat both?
Yes. Yes.
We've got the demonstration of the two different ones. So can you show us how you would identify this one as taro and this one as not taro?
Okay, so the feature that will stand out the most at the beginning, the first thing you'll notice is you see the tips.
Yeah.
The tips for this are much sharper.
Yeah.
Much sharper. Whereas with the taro, they're rounded. Now, this isn't always the case. It's not always that easy to notice and to spot, but it's one of the best giveaways you would have is the rounded tips, whereas these ones are sharp.
This is definitely a little bit more pointed and coming to a defined angle. Yeah.
Yes. Also, you can see there's a slight difference in the patterns, but that's once you get beyond, I think, the rounded tips.
Yeah.
If you're still not sure, I mean, even if you see the rounded tips, it's always best to ask an expert. Ask an expert. There's so many groups online. If you don't have anyone you know locally, ask someone. Just say, "Hey, I've seen this. What plant is this?" There's apps which will show you, "Oh, this is this plant in this family." But generally, this, if I don't know, maybe you're in the jungle and you're not sure what to eat and there's no internet, look for rounded tips at these two edges. Yes.
Well, and as you say, get online and ask somebody.
Yes.
If you're not sure, ask somebody, because you don't want to make a mistake when it comes to your own health. Now, none of this is eaten raw, though. It's always cooked or processed in some ways, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's another thing. You never eat anything raw that you don't know effectively.
Yes.
So you're saying that you eat both the leaves and the roots. I think the roots are a little bit more straightforward in terms of getting that kind of tuber and then peeling it as you would a potato and stuff like that. How do you deal with the leaves in terms of a processing the leaves,
and cooking them? It's much the same way you would cook any other vegetable.
Okay.
It's much the same way. You just chop them up, cook them. You can, the sashilaing here in Zambia, where you mix it with groundnuts
and things like that.
So it's not a complicated plant.
Okay. I wasn't sure if there was a little bit more kind of processing, because they say the family is known to be not necessarily poisonous, but to have things in it that tells you not to eat it effectively. And do you eat the whole leaf, including the petiole, or just the top part? Or
well, I generally just eat the top
leaf,
part.
Okay,
some people do, but I keep it to the leaf.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's good to know. That's good to know. And then if you're taking a plant like this, putting it into the ground or putting it into a larger container, what kind of length of time would you wait before you're actually going to have something that's harvestable?
When it comes to the roots, you might have to wait some time, about 6 months or so.
Oh, okay.
But the leaves, This is actually the real, when it comes to like food security. I've seen these things. You cut off a leaf, next few days a new one's back.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very.
It's like cut and come again kind of scenario.
Yes. Yes, and it doesn't die.
Yeah.
It doesn't die, and compared to foods like rape or cabbage, where it's like, oh, you farm it for a season, and then it dies off, and you have to plant it again.
Yeah.
You just keep. This can sustain you.
And well, this is perennial. It will grow all the time, effectively. Well, I don't know if it will grow into the dry season.
I have them all year round.
You do? Okay. So if it has water in the dry season, it'll continue to grow. Okay. Well, that's good to know. What kind of production are we looking at, though? Sorry. Okay, not necessarily production, but you plant it, and then it does offset.
Yes.
So if you plant one plant over time, it'll increase in size if you're maintaining it well and things like that.
Yes.
Okay.
It just moisture is the trick with these.
Yeah.
Just keep them watered, and they'll be happy. Keep them watered. If you're having water problems, plant them in a shaded area.
Okay.
They'll love it. You saw the big one in the back.
Yeah.
That's because of the shade.
Okay.
It's the shade, so you water it, and the water doesn't evaporate off immediately, so it just keeps on drinking and drinking.
Whereas I suppose then if you have a bit of a wet area, a seepage area, you could plant it too. It's actually probably quite happy in wet areas, is it?
Yes.
Well?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay. Anything else you'd want to extol about this plant?
Wow. I mean, food-wise, it will keep on giving. It will keep on giving. Just give it water, and it will keep on giving to you.
Now, is this something that you could grow in combination with other things, like in a polyculture, or is it best kind of grown on its own?
No, it's so before I started selling plants, I used to, once again, I was trying to be like, how can I maximize the use of this space?
Yeah.
So in each pot I would have like in each sack I would have like 2 or 3 plants. So these used to grow together with other plants in the sack. Of course, it does limit it a little bit.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking in terms of, because of the shape and the architecture of it, it grows up and spreads out. That does provide you with things that could grow underneath
it.
Effectively.
Yes.
Something like sweet potato, which is going to creep nicely, could then creep well underneath it, and then still also provide into that food, because then you can take the leaves for calendula or whatever along those kinds of lines, effectively.
Yes.
Is it just humans who eat this, or could this also be made into a feed for chickens or pigs or goats? Or
I'm not sure about that. I actually haven't looked into that. But I'm pretty sure it could. Usually our our diets aren't that dissimilar.
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely with pigs at least as well. Okay, no, that would be something I'll have to look up and stuff like that.